Thomas is a tank engine who lives at a big station on the island of Sodor. He's a cheeky little engine with 6 small wheels, a short stumpy funnel, a short stumpy boiler, and a short stumpy dome.
Okay, so you're telling me there's a random talking train and all of his friends who go on train adventures pulling trucks and passengers around, and you decided this was a great TV show? And yet, it's a beloved classic. The question is, why? What made Thomas great? Let's get into it. Hello, I'm the Chaotic Jedi Knight, named Steve. Okay, so I'm not gonna beat around the bush here. The reason why Thomas is an incredible, icon of a character in a TV show comes down to simple simplicity. At least for me. That's what made Thomas great to me. Let me explain. I like movies, books, and TV shows. Why? Because, well, I like stories. And when you think of a story, you think of big, long narratives with strong character arcs and jaw-dropping moments, yeah? And yeah, I enjoy those too, and it's a simple case of complexity. The older you get, the more you should be able to understand concepts, although, let's face it, unlike what a lot of people say, age does not equal wisdom. Experience does. And I feel like the more complicated, advanced, and deep the story is, the more reading it makes you feel like an adult. At least that's what I felt when I stopped watching cartoons and got into anime like Naruto, or even when I was watching like Avatar: The Last Airbender. The groundbreaking narrative attracted me as a kid because I wanted to feel grown up. I find the opposite is true as an adult. And some of my favorite stories are definitely the big adventures with the crazy twists and turns. I mean, after all, I am a Star Wars fan. Shut up, G4, it's not that weird to be into a TV show. Yeah, you know, I really hate this idea that if you're into something as an adult, well then you're childish, or if you like what is considered a cartoon made for kids, then there's something wrong with you. There's this really bad idea that cartoons are just for kids, and if it's animation, it has to be for kids. And that's the thing, animation is not a genre, it's an art form. And there are plenty of so-called adult cartoon shows. I could make an entirely different video on that topic. Something I should definitely do, what made cartoons great. But for the simplicity of this video, like what you like. Don't let someone bully you for your enjoyment. There are plenty of people who grew up on Thomas, and while a lot outgrew it, at some point, some just remember how much the show means to them. And I think that's okay. Shut up, we're not talking about that, G4. For me, Thomas was the third or fourth thing I ever remember being into. For me, it was Mickey Mouse, Winnie the Pooh, Thomas, and the Big Bear in the Blue House. That basically defined me until I was like 5 years old. And even then, I didn't really get out of Thomas until I was 10. And the reason why is just due to simple aging out of it. Wanting to be a big kid, wanting to be a teen, and getting into more and more complex narratives. But as an adult who is almost 30 now, the more I grow, the more I feel like I enjoy the simpler stories. I feel like now in my life, I don't need a ground-changing movie that changes my perspective on life. Do I want that? Yeah, it always feels good when you end up seeing a masterpiece. But just because a story isn't that complex doesn't mean it's bad. In fact, the more simple a story is, the easier it is to understand, the easier it is to get invested in the characters and just enjoy their journey. It's that whole mentality of keep it simple, stupid, and honestly, That's what I thought was great about Thomas. Something that Thomas never looked down on the audience. It never called out to the audience and said, "Hey kids!" Instead, it told a story. One with a simple lesson. It started as a book series when a guy named Wilbert Audrey wanted to make a story for his sick kid. It started as a book series when a guy named Wilbert Audrey wanted to make a short little story for his sick kid. Hilariously, that story was actually about Edward. Thomas came later. The narrative was simple. An old train wanted to come out of the shed, but was looked down upon for being small and old. But he got his chance, and when he did, he proved how useful he was. That was Edward's story. Thomas's story was more about learning patience and not being a cocky little dipshit. Thomas is a cheeky little engine, messes with Gordon, thinks he's the most useful engine, and because he's a jerk, he ends up getting what he deserves when he's stuck on the back of Gordon's train. And Gordon takes off with him still hooked up to him. The lesson was never straight out told you. It made you think. It was show, don't tell. A concept becoming more and more rare these days. It let the audience read the story, think about it, and form their own conclusion. Yes, it did have a message, but it was the way it was given that was interesting to see. I had the book series as a kid. I also watched the show. Something I think is really interesting is technically it was all stop motion. It felt real because it was real, and there was something unique about it. But what I liked the most was the narrator aspect of the show. It honestly felt like I was listening to a book with moving pictures, which is funny because that's what film is supposed to be. And when you look back on the older cartoons, you really realize there wasn't much of a narrative or a story. It was mostly just about pure entertainment and what could look silly on screen. Which is fine and all, and I do like the old shows. We'll eventually have to do a What Made Great series on them as well. But I feel like what made Thomas so great to me is it had a story to tell, a message to give. Thomas invited me to experience his world. And yeah, it is simple, but even in its simplicity, the lessons are there. Some of my favorites are the classics, like Thomas messing with Gordon, or the time Thomas got stuck and Gordon had to pull him out of the ditch. That was great. Thomas is number one, and while I have grown out of it and really don't have too much of an interest to watch the show as religiously as the Thomas fandom has, every now and then I do like seeing videos on Thomas and watching clips reminding me of a simpler time in my life. As someone now trying to write his own stories and having a million different ideas, Thomas reminds me that honestly, I don't have to make it super complex or dark or crazy with a million twists to be good. Keep it simple, stupid. Don't talk down to the audience. Don't tell them, show them. Take them on a journey. Invite them onto an adventure, even if it's small. That's what, as a writer, I learned from Thomas. That's why Thomas is so great to me, because it's simple. After all, his number is simple, isn't it? He's number one. Number one for a reason. Thank you guys for watching this video. Let me know what made Thomas great to you. This is my first video on this channel, and it won't be the last. Look forward to the next video. Like, share, subscribe, and don't forget, my friends, never give up.